So today I have with me Julia, a really, really, really lovely lady I met at the Times Flow Festival. And I was absolutely taken in by her presentation. It was a huge event in itself. I was left in absolute awe, as was the audience, in absolute rapture. We were hanging on to every word you spoke. The presentation was so beautifully and so engagingly put together. And it was the only reason why I felt all of the money that I'd paid for that ticket was all worth it.
Thank you. That means a lot to
No,
me. I'm happy
really.
for you.
I felt I went to that festival only actually to meet you. And, you know, like people are meant to meet, and I felt I was there only to be able to see you. And thank heavens you and I are now lovely friends, and I have you here with me.
I'm very happy to be here with you. And I think this is what connects me with Hindu so much. We both believe in karma, and we both believe that things happen for a reason. So I'm happy we met, and I'm happy it happened. So I'm very happy that we can talk today.
So lovely. Thank you again. And with that, I will now get straight away into what I know you feel most passionately about, which is consumer research. You are a consumer research professional, a very, very thorough professional, which I found out, my great delight. And so you say this many times over and over again, and very unabashedly so, that all consumers lie, or that all people lie. It was the big headline of your presentation. Talk to us a little about that. Why do you feel, or why do you believe that all people lie? Is that actually true?
Well, I think the most passionate about is psychology, not actually consumer research, because I'm very passionate about making psychology practical. Because from my perspective, I believe that nothing is more practical than understanding of human mind and human behavior. And I'm happy that I find the way how I can connect what I love so much into practical thing, because business for me is very practical. And at the end of the day, nobody's reading psychology or doing research in business just because it's pure interest. It needs to be ROI. It needs to have return on investment. It has to be money. And I really like it because I see how it works, and that gives me satisfaction. So when it comes to that everybody lies, it's a basic truth that about human being from psychological perspective. We as humans, we are very gentle. Our construction, emotional construction is very gentle. We would never be able to survive this world if not lies. That's why very often when we complain that Americans are so American, you ask how they are, and it's like, I'm fine, I'm this. It's like you can say it's a lie, but it's also like something that you cannot. In Poland is the opposite, and it's way more difficult in Poland. You ask them and they'll suddenly tell you all the life story from a negative perspective, and they start complaining, and suddenly you feel like a mountain is crashing on you, and it's just very heavy very often when you like go around with people, because everybody has like bad life. And so from this perspective, I want to have a lie. I would like, because people, when you ask how are you, it's already a lie, because most of the time we're not really interested. It's a kind of impression. So then you either have to tell the truth, which is like nobody interested, or you just have to lie because it's a convention.
Fine, I'm good. I'm not really good, but I don't want to tell you my life story.
I don't want to hear your life story. When I'm asking what we met before, I really want to know how you are. And you know that I want to know, so we can honestly talk about this. This you need a special connection. And most of the time you do not have special connection. We're social beings, so we need to interact, and we need somehow stay together without insulting each other and without killing each other. That's why we need lies. So lies is social glue that keep us together as a society, or as I said also in my presentation, in a relationship, as a marriage. Like you don't always tell the truth. When I say to my husband after giving birth, did I put on weight? Like I do not expect him to tell me the truth. This is the last thing that I need, and he absolutely knows about this. And the same when he's asking me, like, do you think I put on weight when we ate so much when you're pregnant? It's like, absolutely not. Like, you look stunning like always. And well, you can say that it's either a lie, or, which is much better, that we do see each other this way in relationship. Then it's the truth. But when it comes to business, you cannot have convention, because this is not how it works. You need to know facts because you need to make business decision. So that's why business, you don't want to be nice. You need to know the truth. And this is what I do in my work, no matter if it's, research or consulting, or when I push Fergus, into like briefs when he's doing it. He needs to know facts. He needs to know how people really think, and he needs to know how people really, act. Because when I ask, did I put on weight, which is very sensitive, usually subject for females, it's also the most interesting is, why do I need to hear the lie? Why I have so much resistance to hear the truth? Why do I actually even need this information? I could ask, well, do you think I'm still as smart as I was before? Do you think I'm as funny as I used to be? But I do not ask that. So when you research, it's very important that not only that you catch somebody online, but to understand why exactly he's using this lie, but not that one. Why does he need this glue to feel good? And how then brands can use it or not use it in order to get to people. So this is why it's so important to acknowledge the fact that lies is not only bad intention. It's just the way we define it. It's something that is not true with reality for whatever reason, good or bad intentions.
You talked about looking at stuff with fresh insights. One of the things that I found when I speak with clients is that they feel, but we talk to our consumers all the time. We're looking at consumer reviews all the time. There's nothing about our consumers we don't already know. Why do you need to do this research? We've been in business for so long. Or, I was working with a wealth investment platform, and they were looking to hire wealth advisors. And so they were actually interviewing almost 20 to 30 wealth advisors every day. And yet trying to figure out what's the right profile of wealth advisors that we'd like on board. And they actually agreed to doing a consumer research to figure out what goes on inside the minds of wealth advisors and why would somebody want to join us. At the end of the research, they admitted that we learned so much, so many new things that we never did realize, despite actually sitting in front of them and talking to them day in and day out, because they're doing interviews every day. So one of my big questions to you as a researcher, is do you find your clients actually telling you, but we've spoken to a lot of our consumers, we've been in business for so long, we know this category really well. We know how people buy baby food, or we know how women buy cosmetics, what works, what doesn't work. We don't really need research to figure this. We just need to get to the strategy very quickly.
I have it all the time. And this is my one reason, why the research is cut off during COVID, because they think we have so much research, let's just use what we have because we know everything. And, I always respond to this. If you know everything, how come you're not king of the jungle? How come you're not the best in what you do? If you know it so well, I don't see it on your market shares. And even if you're the leader, for me, the leader is somebody who has 90%. Then you can say, well, I know everything. But most of the time, this is not what's happening. People save in a very not smart way, because I understand saving. I also believe that we should save money, because in the end of the day, companies wants to earn money. I understand that. But we need to do it in a very smart way and to know where to save or not to save. Just because we train people how to talk. I was trained in interview for 5 years doing my psychology, and then I have so many classes about interviewing and diagnosis. So I'm trained diagnosed, so I can draw a conclusion about people's mental health, which is very difficult. So I was trained how to talk, to get subtle hints so I can move my hypothesis forward. And clients do not train. Every time they think they're good at this, and every time we do workshops, because now I do mainly workshops, and the basic exercise about listening and asking questions, and they fail. And I have to tell you, 90% of the time after strategic workshops, 90% of them, not always, follow up with the one-day workshops about listening and asking questions. Because it's a competence. You need to be trained how to do well. Every time I do 3 days workshop and we have an exercise when I actually get them people to talk to and then draw a conclusion, and then they have to present it in front of me with the conclusion what to do. It's always the biggest failure, always. And I don't blame them, because I would never be able to do like good marketing plan, because I'm not qualified to do this. It's not my job. I don't have competence to do this. So I don't think they should have competence to do this. But if they do research, if they do question, if they want to draw conclusions, they have to have this competence. So either they have to train. This is another thing that we do for the last 2 years very often. We train people inside the company to create the inner research department. So at least if you decided to do it, train them with the best possible people that they actually trained. Just because you know how to speak does not mean you know how to ask questions. Just because you have ears does not know you know how to listen. Just because you have brain does not know you can draw conclusions. It has to be trained. So it's very, very, very often happens what you're saying. And it's very difficult sometimes to get through this, and like you need actually to prove them and to show that it's something different. You need to have very often fresh eyes, and you need somebody who sees from different perspective. You need not to feel attached. Training with the clients, and sometimes it's very simple way how we start with the clients. For example, they need to be near the shelf for the product and competition, and just observe, and that's it. And draw conclusions. Observation and listening, nothing more. And then second step to what to ask. And you know, they can't handle this. When somebody is doing this, like, why are you choosing this? No, it's not the best. This is the best. And like, and I understand them. If you work on the packaging for like last 3 months, you feel pain because it has less sugar. Did you read this? It does not have less sugar. This is what it says. Like, why did not compare? So they almost very often yelling at these poor people, you know? And this is not how it works. I understand them, because I probably would yell too if that would be my thing. Like, I'm very passionate about what I do. So I understand that they're passionate. It's sleepless nights. And so I understand that. But that's the reason why we're not born as humans to know and to do everything by themselves. To have people who do different jobs so you can do your job the best possible way. I'm not the best CEO. I don't know how to earn millions on running corporation, but somebody is. And in order for him to do his job the best, he needs to hire me so I can deliver him everything he needs so he can earn these millions. But we need to work together. If he's going to start doing what I'm doing, he's not going to do as well as he is. Because people lie, proof doesn't. Everybody lies, also researchers. So you need to know if he's going to deliver what he wants. If you're the same tribe, if he thinks the same way as you think, if he understands you clearly, if he understands what you want, if he just wants you to transcribe the person, that is not a research. People do not often know. And this is your job as a researcher to dig into this and to get to know, not just based on declaration, because we can say anything. It's just words, anything. And any client can do it for themselves. It's going to be cheaper just to go and ask. The reason why he hires, so somebody can dig deeper.
Very nice. So you said something very interesting. Even in what you explained, you said it's important to have the observation. Like you said, here I'm showing you a picture of my backbone, and then you decide why you need this sort of a surgery. So you're saying one must have the observation, and then one must have, here is why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. So you're presenting both. And then, you know, people lie, but proof doesn't, which means that we're actually saying we want not just the interpretation, we also want the proof. So good research must actually present both. Here is the proof, and here is why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. What have you found about the reasons that men lie versus women lie? Do you find that it's more difficult to get men talking versus the women talking? And do you see that there is a difference in cultures? Because I know you've done research across so many different countries. So I'd like you to take the example of how Americans respond to us is how the Polish respond. But we'd love to hear from you on exactly that, which is how do women and men lie differently? And it's different across cultures.
Well, why men, women lie differently? We already know it from science. So this is something that we just use it as a preparation process for researcher. Women have to lie. Usually, main reason for women to lie is to protect.
Okay.
Usually they protect themselves and they usually protect somebody else. They just don't want to insult somebody. They don't want anybody to feel bad. That's why women lie about orgasm, for example, because they just don't want somebody to feel bad. Like, this is something that men would never understand, because from their perspective, like, what's the point? It's like, why would I lie something that I did not have? They're really like physically not able to understand why women would do that. And because they're not able to understand that, that's why they always believe in their lies. And this is why it's so important to understand the human mind, so you actually can have the truth for yourself. Because if you don't believe and don't understand why somebody lies, you can't discover this. So they build their value by how much pleasure and happiness they give to somebody else. So this is why they would lie, and they don't think it's anything like bad very often. And they say women would lie about, you know, doing shopping, that it was on sales on something, because in their head they have to protect also the budget, and they don't like when they have image of person who just not protect the family budget. So that's why, even so, very often, especially in the good marriages, men just do not give a shit if you buy the shoes on sale, off sale, like they don't care. But they don't even ask you. But woman has to lie just because she thinks he cares. So she's saying, well, I bought it on sale. It's like, okay. And that was like 70% sales. Like, it doesn't matter to him. And it was like great example of the company who is selling shoes. And in the end, she's asking, do you want to be attached a receipt that is 50% off for your husband? And then I thought it's a great thing. Yeah, it's a simple thing that comes from understanding the woman has this inherent need to lie on the subject that men sometimes don't even care. Some men care, of course, in some marriages, but most do not. So this is why women lie, and they like really have to do it from this perspective. Men very often lie to build the ego, build
balance the two, and how do you make sure that you are getting it right? Like, I as a client have always, or not always, that would be incorrect, but many times looked at research very skeptically.
And you should look very skeptically. Like, we should do it. Have you ever had an operation in your life?
Yes.
Do you think the operation that you had, any doctor would do with the same result as you had? Would you trust any doctor?
No, no way.
And in the same way should be true to researchers. Just because we are a researcher, we're not the same. I would never trust on operation on my baby or myself, doctor who does not have experience, who I do not talk and don't know his methodology, his way of thinking, how he's going to cure us. The same with the researcher. Just because we are researchers, just because we use the same technology, just because we use focus group, just because we use ethnography, we are not the same. And it's very important, because as Lacan said, that medium is a message, and research is the message. Research is also the medium. It's already proven in ethnography and anthropology that the fact that research is in the field, in a research, is also the influences what kind of how he collects this data. So if you don't choose a researcher that is trained to differentiate data from analysis, because it's two different steps, then you don't get a good research. If you don't get a researcher who understands what strategy means, and that research is not the end result, it's a beginning for the client. Yes. So he's interested in transcription, because this is monkey can do, Every stupid can learn how to ask questions. Like, you don't need that. If you don't have a researcher who actually understands what clients need, what is strategy, that clients need to earn money, that clients cannot just do whatever customer wants, because in the end of the day, it's like, it's money, and we're having product to earn money. So it has to balance what somebody needs and what we can do. So if you have a researcher who does not have enough knowledge in the marketing and the client side, that is not probably the best researcher. If he does not have methodology when he can differentiate gathering data from analyzing data, it's probably not a very good researcher. If you don't have a researcher who has, somebody has, like you said, very fancy methodology, and it's all great, but in the end of the day, you need to know what was said and what was interpretation. On the level of basic researchers, so the one who is going on the field and the right basic report that is not going to the client, even on this level, we have methodology of 4 colors that he has differentiate what he saw and what he heard from quote of the person, from writing the story, from what is his recommendation or interpretation. Because this is the last thing client has said, well, I don't agree with this. And we say, okay, we can discuss this. But with rest, he cannot discuss because this is the fact. And why is it so important to put facts and interpretation? If you don't put facts, if you don't agree, you don't know the basics, you don't know how to discuss. It's like when you go to the doctor every day, you cannot say, well, this other doctor said that this is my backbone is not well and I really need this operation to clean it up and put nails there. Can you please show me the photo of your spine? You need to trust me. It's just not good. Just open it up and do it. He said, no, I need to see the basics. That's why as fancy as methodology you have, you need to deliver the basics. You need to see what is semantics, what is symbol. You need to have a proof for the client why you did this interpretation. But you also need to do interpretation because client does not want to then order research and then spend another month thinking what to do about this. He needs to have information, like we always say that I do research and all my analysis or even consultation, whatever I do, like a strategist to a strategist. So I need to deliver him full data so he can just choose. He can decide because that is what is going to be easy for him to decide what to do, not to put all work on him. Very often lie to build the ego, to build their position, to build their power. And that is crucial to understand this relationship because this is what women very often do not understand. They say, well, if you have problems, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk with me about this? If you don't want to talk with me, fine. Why don't you talk with your friend, with a therapist, with anybody? But for men, talking about his failures, like that he was fired, that he did not get a job, that he lost on the court, it means he has to admit that he is weak. Admitting the man is weak, hurting his ego. And it's again, not good, not bad. It's just a fact. And for man who has very sensitive ego, this is something so painful that he needs also to protect it. So that's why he built a wall against this ego, so he feels safe. That's why it's no point of pushing men to talk when it's very rarely, even with the friends, that men openly say, well, I have a problem with my boss. My boss does not treat me nicely. He just humiliates me. He's just saying he's such an asshole. He does not see this. He does not see that. Because they need to build the ego so they don't feel weak. And that is why it's very big difference. So that's why when we do research, we always have to check what actually, like, whatever they tell the truth about what kind of car they really buy or what kind of engine they really have. Because again, from my perspective, I don't even know anything about cars, so I don't ever judge men based on the cars, because for me cars exist based on color and that's it. So it's black, white, whatever, I don't know. So when they start saying that has an engine of this and this and that, it's like, great. But then when you do research with a man, then somebody else is like, well, does not really have that engine. Or like, in this car, you don't even have that big engine. So how could you, like, you can see that they have this need to boost some things, to make bigger. And that is, like, I always explain my clients, it's a little bit look like this. Whatever women do, she needs to make it smaller, like about her weight, about her age, about whatever, her feet, even that it's smaller. That's why she's constantly walking in too small shoes. And whatever man is doing, he needs to have the opposite. He needs to be big everything. Like, he's taller, he earns more money, he has bigger car, he has more lovers, he had more sex, he got on more holidays, he had more rewards. So that's knowing this, you know how to judge when people are talking. So you need actually to compare it to reality because we know that women a little bit make it too small, men a little bit too big. So that's why we like try to find out what is the truth.